Welcome to the Smorgasbord Podcast, episode 13, where we talk about a variety of different topics, unedited, uncensored, and unfiltered. Today, I have a new guest, Gabby. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm very tired.
Yeah, I felt that. It's been a long week.
Yeah, so today is officially our last day of school. How do you feel about that? Or for this year?
I'm kind of relieved. I feel like with the whole, Corona thing and not being at school, it's been a break from seeing people.
Yeah.
I guess you could say. And there's been a lot of positives and negatives that have come out from this. But in terms of school, I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It's on one hand, when it comes to technology, it's harder to turn into work, but as far as the level of difficulty and of doing it, it's much easier. And I get stuff done a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. I think it just depends on the person. I procrastinate so much. And so, with schoolwork, there came times where I just would not even do it. I'd look at it and then get lazy and not do it.
Oh, yeah. I literally had to the one class that's easy band, I literally was behind on 5 assignments. And
I completely gave up on my AP class.
What AP did you have?
AP World History.
Oh God, I think I'm taking that next year. Is it hard?
Oh Lord, yeah. Good luck. I mean, I think it depends on the teacher that you have, but they're both good teachers. It's just a lot of work. So good luck if you are taking that class.
I don't even remember what I put down. It's something. So, yeah. Obviously, if you saw last episode, I talked about drum majors. First of all, congratulations on making that.
Thank you.
But your thoughts on Mr. Reed and Mr. Ehrlich leaving at the same time. I want to know your honest to God thoughts on that.
Oh Lord. Okay, so when I first read that, honestly, I didn't even know how to feel. Because I've had them for the past 2 years. I've known them since middle school, so it's definitely going to be a really big change. I'm not that upset. Honestly, I thought I was going to be more upset about it, but they're both going to be closer to home. Mr. Ehrlich is head band director, I think now, and then Mr. Reed is fine arts director.
Yeah.
So it's better for the both of them, but I don't know. It's going to be a big and interesting change for sure.
Personally, for me, and this is a big issue my mom also has, it's not the fact that they left. It's how they conducted themselves in doing it. They both left at the same time. There was no one was going to be able to ease the rest of us into the new director, so he knows all of us. It's not just jumping into new water oh, are you good? What can you do? What can you do? Instead, we're going to be basically this year, if there even is a year for marching band or band in general, we're going to be basically teaching the teacher and ourselves more than anything.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. However, I went to East Roswell with Mr. Reed and a few other people a few days ago, and something that he was saying was that he wasn't looking for a new job. Mr. Ehrlich has been looking for, a head director job for a bit. And so I think he said that he interviewed on a Thursday and got the job that day. But Mr. Reed's job opportunity just kind of came to him because he wasn't looking for, a new job or anything. He was planning on staying at Centennial. But it just kind of came, and I guess it was more convenient for him. I don't know.
No, his I understand. I don't understand Mr. Ehrlich to an extent. I get you want to be head director, all that, that's fine. But I don't get the fact that if anything, though it's his life, whatever, he's going to prioritize himself. Personally, I feel it would be better, respectful to the kids that would be actually genuinely upset that they're leaving. Because personally, I don't they're good band directors, but personally, as far as people wise, I didn't always agree with them. Though they were half decent, or they were good teachers, but they're iffy on the as genuine humans, but they are cool. I had no
Yeah.
personal issues with them, but from what I saw and observed and what I've heard, I'm like, you're kind of iffy. So I wasn't. So when they did that, I wasn't. It wasn't a shocker to me. It wasn't like, well, they're going to think of themselves, which they're supposed to. But at the same time, if anything would make more sense, you should have had Mr. Ehrlich stay behind to make sure you for sure have for someone, instead of just setting literally everything up and then being like, okay, I have this new job, I'm going to leave. Whoever gets this is going to have to pick all of this up. Because even if, like, I don't know if you went to the live stream thing, they literally said that they were like in the middle of the show, almost done, and then the Coronas thing started, and then they're just like, okay, now we're leaving. So we now have no show, no plans. So that's why I personally believe there's not going to be a band camp this year, because it's just too much, and I don't know if anything is going to be. Because if we do go back to school, it will be the most boring year ever. Because there's going to be no events and nothing's going to happen. It's going to be literally go to school, go home. If we even go.
Yeah, it depends on Fulton County, though. Because, obviously the band directors don't really have a say. Mr. Ehrlich was saying how where he's teaching, where is it, DeKalb? Is that where he is going at?
I know one of them is going to Decatur. One of them.
Oh, Decatur, there we go. I think that's the one that he's going to. But they're not having a band camp already. But I think it just depends on what Fulton says. What Mr. Reed said was that they were going to obviously try to have a marching season regardless. And something that I brought up was, what if we don't compete? Like we just kind of do like the football games. Yeah. But he wasn't really on board with that. But it all just depends on the new director. And, like you were saying, it would have made more sense for Mr. Ehrlich to stay, but like I said earlier, he was already looking for a job. So I feel like if he would have known Mr. Reed was leaving, he would have stayed.
My question is, why wouldn't he? If Mr. Reed leaves, I don't know. I feel like even though he got the job before Mr. Reed left, I feel like there had to be some discussion leading up to, hey, I might leave, I might not. I'm discussing. I feel like if that was the case, that she could have eventually, even though I probably would have not liked it that much, him take that job and then find a assistant director or something like that and then promote him as he leaves. Just overall, I feel like planning wise, they didn't really conduct it with the greatest way. But then again, I can't blame them because we're in a chaotic time right now. But still, I feel like it's a very jacked up thing to do in a way.
I mean, yeah, I get it. But I don't think they had told each other that they were going to, potentially leave. I know Mr. Ehrlich probably didn't, and Mr. Reed just came out of nowhere. So I don't know. I can't really speak for them in why it went down like it did. But I honestly feel like next year is an opportunity for growth in both marching band and concert band. Because, Mr. Reed and Mr. Ehrlich they're both pretty good directors, but I still feel like we could have better, especially for our marching band. Because, last season wasn't that great. Yeah,
the last part of the show, do we need to talk about that? There was no planning. They literally just there was no planning. That if there was a time that would have made me think to quit, it would have been that part of the year. Because part 1, 2, and 3. Calm. You kind of like obviously the parts got less and less planned out as it went on, and that's fine because it's near the end of the year. But to have that drop off from part 3 to being like, okay, we barely got it done, to part 4, we're scrambling and learning half the set in 3 hours, and we have yet to even draw where we're supposed to be at. And then him yell out, then have the gall to be like, I don't know why you guys are struggling, and I'm like, okay, well, you do it then.
Yeah, it's kind of upsetting that you guys came into marching band on how it was last year, because my freshman year, it was really fun and it was a really nice experience. But I honestly can agree with anyone on that last season was really not good. And I think one of the big reasons was the heat, and Mr. Reed obviously didn't really know how to.
No, he broke the law.
Combat it.
He broke the law. Legally, we were not supposed to be out there. And, and it'd be fine if it was a little bit. It was by a mile. like the heat was like 80. It was like you can't go out there if it feels like 88 or something like that. And we were marching over there like at 99, 100, or we were marching out there when it was like thunder out. And I'm like, you might as well just put a big sign to God that says, "Hey, strike us right here." With
I get that.
so, and you know,
that's crazy.
So when I saw that, I was just like, okay, you know, that right there is what the big issue was. The only big complaint I had. And I feel like this whole season, the fact that it's progressively got worse. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard from upperclassmen that when Mr. Ehrlich came, that's when it started to kind of go downhill as far as the joy of it.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that too.
Yeah. So, and I can see why. I mean, he's like so very nitpicky, which is good to have if you want the skill and the great part of the show, but if you want to take the joy out of it, that's what I felt with. And that was the biggest thing I complained about the entire season, is that the adults want to suck out the fun for the kids in regards of to look good.
Yeah, I think that they kind of lost their focus in a way last season, because I think it became more on, you know, getting first or like doing well at competitions, which, you know, is a good thing, but at the same time, like you said, like it was a lot less fun and a lot of people didn't enjoy it, which hurt us a lot for next season because a lot of people aren't coming back.
Yeah, like my class, I'm screwed. Like there is like people have not only quit marching, they've quit band because of them. And that's what I mean. That's what I meant, like when people, like when he was like calling out, like when he called out one time Andrew Howery when he was sick one time, and then he just straight up was just like, he's not committed. And I'm like, dog, he's been here for 4 years and he missed one practice and you're saying he's not committed. I wish he would. Personally, the only thing I thought to myself was like, I hope to God he's never said that about me, because I'm actually one of the very few people in my class who's deciding to stay, besides, of course, Kai, Dan. David is leaving because he doesn't think for himself, and it's gonna sound like I'm trash talking, but he doesn't think for himself, and he believes that he hangs up with those football kids and all that stuff, and he believes in that stereotype of like, oh, if you're in marching band, you're gay. I'm like, you're insecure, because that's not even what that is. And so, I mean, and I heard that, I was like, that is the most immature, stupid thing. But you know, mazel tov to you. But I don't know. It's like I'm one of the very few people. But now that they're leaving, people are like now debating to come back, and I'm like, that. What does that say about y'all? And
I know
this year has definitely jeopardized the future of the band in general, because 8th grade night, they wanted us to basically in a nutshell lie, and then Anish was getting mad at me because I was being honest. I was like, look, man, it's hard work. If you don't got nothing else to do, join this. If you even might consider about doing something else on top of this, you might as well do that, because you're not gonna have time for this. And then Anish was just like, I'm not trying to lead a section with 2 other people, and I'm like, I'm not trying to lie to these kids, because I don't want them to be like to just come in and be like, oh, it's all this. Yeah, it's hard work, but it's also fun. And then you have the band directors suck out the fun, and then the kids who also, not you, but like in general, kids who like literally have nothing else to do, they turn into them, and they literally proceed to suck the fun out of it more. Like my section leader, not Jackson, but trying to think of her name, Peyton, cool girl. She sucked the fun out of it to the point where like I hated, like whenever we were in the stands for a football game, I would be sitting right whenever we would be chilling, and she would just get on me like I'm somebody's mom. And eventually I had a moment of honesty. I was just like, I said, bro, you know this is not for a grade, right? And I just straight up told her that. And I'm like, because it's not. I'm supposed to have fun with this. And yeah, it's hard work at the same time. If I mess up, I mess up. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, oh, woe is me, it's the end of the world. I'm not even going to get graded for this.
Yeah, we had a lot of problems with leadership last year. I feel like there was a lot of people trying to play band director.
Yep.
And, you know, obviously not to, like, talk bad about them as a whole, but, like, there was a lot of issues, especially in my section. Like, I loved my section leader, but there were things like...
Who was even your section leader?
Pass-off. Nicole. Nicole was our section leader. And she's going to be section leader again. But our pass-offs weren't fair, and I know that because there were things that I was passed up, passed off on that I wouldn't have passed myself off on. Like, I didn't know the visuals, and I didn't play, like, a single note right, and I was like, that's not really fair.
Well, pass-offs weren't even taken serious, because, like, there was a kid, I'm not even going to say his name, but in the euphonium section, he literally didn't pass off the whole year. He passed off part 1, forgot it, didn't pass off 2, 3, or 4, and he didn't get any repercussions for it. I'm just like, yeah, these pass-off things, these are a joke. And
yeah, I mean, I get why I get why pass-offs are a thing, and something that they had brought up was letting the band directors do pass-offs, but and pass-offs are obviously to, like, make sure that you know your music, you know your visuals, but at the same time, I feel like letting another high schooler do your pass-off isn't a good idea, especially when your section leader is one of those people that want to be liked by everyone, so they're trying to be nice about it, and, like, you know, I don't know.
I'll tell you what, there's I feel like people need to find that balance of not being a boss and being a leader. Like this is gonna sound like I'm targeting, but Kai's section, the whole trombone section, how that was run like the section leader, like he was running it like he was running a daycare. Like I've literally seen that Kai would be buzzing in the stands, and he would just take their mouthpieces like your children, just take it from them and hold it from them until it's time to play. And I'm like, I wish you would take that from me. Like, I'm 6.
Well, Justin, in my opinion, had one of the hardest sections to deal with because they were all, like, it was mainly rookie and it was also mainly freshmen.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of those freshmen were a little...
No. Don't get me wrong. My class is full of eggheads. They're like, they're like proper Muppets. But, you know, even still, like, there has to come a modicum of time and be like, okay, if you mess up, like, I felt like the person who had the hardest job hands down undefeatably was Josiah. And when I tell you I felt so bad for him the entire year, I felt so bad for him because he had literally all the douchebags of my class in his section. And I'm like, oh my God. And he got run through the mud. And I'm like, it's not even him. It's literally the same 3 people I assumed it was going to be. And I'm like, the minute he started, I said, look, I told him, I said, watch out for these couple kids. And sure enough, those same kids kept on getting him yelled at. And I'm like,
that's why I feel like there has to be like a balance between a section leader like Justin and a section leader like Josiah, I guess, because Justin is a really, really good leader. Like, I've never met anyone in my life who is as great as a leader as he is. And he had to put his foot down multiple times. Yeah, and
it's good to have that edge. It's good to have that edge, but at the same time, it makes people not like you. It makes people not want to be around you. Even like you, because he can be. He's a cool dude. He shuts off that whole band thing. He's a genuinely cool dude to hang around. He's fun to hang around with. But just how he is, he's literally Mr. Ehrlich as a sophomore now rising junior. And that's who he was. One of the things and I was just like, I can't. And I'm like, personally, I was just like, that affected how I wanted to hang around him because, like, outside of band or right before band would start, he's a cool dude to talk to. I can talk to him and all that stuff, and I've shared a good laugh with him and all that stuff. But like when it came down time to work, yes, be serious, but at the same time, you don't have to, you know, like you took like a whole thing with Kai and Angela again, like. They would barely mess up, or they would talk out of turn. And Kai doesn't even really understand this to an extent, because again he's been like, in a way, there's been favorites, which isn't a problem for me personally. I feel like it's good to have a select few. Like, he was literally recommended for bands, so he doesn't really see the whole outskirts of what's happening because they're treating him because he's going to be like one of the future like stars of the band, if you want to even call it that. Or one of those people that they're always going to pick for something because he's based on how it's going. And and just in general, it's just like there's a fine line between like leading, and bossing. And I feel like people were trying to be bossing people around rather than leading and just being like, hey, if you mess up, you mess up. It is what it is.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard for some people to make that difference. Like kind of like blend in those two things in order to be a good leader, but also be like a good part of the band that everyone enjoys being with. And there's a lot of people that like there's a lot of section leaders that were able to do that. Like Emily. Emily's one of the best section leaders that I've known since I started marching with the band, because that was probably, like, the euphonium section was probably one of the most united sections of the entire band. And so I feel like if we could have someone like her, but then have a little bit of Justin who's able to have their section, like, so in line, because the trombone section always knew their music, they always knew their visuals, they were always, on time and stuff, and that's because of how hard Justin was on them. Yeah. And I get it. Justin was a little bit too hard on them, and he understands that because we've talked about it before. So just, I feel like the goal for us now is to find, for next year, I guess, is to kind of try to balance that more, especially for returning section leaders.
I know it's like, let's see, who were the section leaders? Because I know it's you, Colin, and Justin are the drum majors. But who are the section leaders?
The clarinet and flute section leaders, Nicole. The saxophone section leaders, Daniel. The mellophone section is Annie. Trumpet is Fish and Aiden.
Okay. I know the tuba's Anish.
Find all the instruments. Anish, yeah. And you guys have a pretty big section next year.
Who?
The trombone section is Cody. What other instruments? I feel like I'm missing the euphonium section.
Who is that?
Who's their section leader? What's his name? Oh my, James.
James. Remember James. Oh
man, I don't remember. I feel like I'm missing an instrument. But like apart from like battery and stuff, that's I think the main one.
Well, I'll see. Again, like the people I really click with, like are leaving. Like Jackson was the guy I clicked. He was my number one guy that I clicked with, and like And now that he's gone, it's gonna be painful. Like it's gonna be really painful for me because Ryan, love him. Doesn't we talk when he does get comfortable to talk, we actually talk about cool stuff, and he's actually a cool dude. But it's just getting there, and I feel like. But I'll tell you what, those kids, when Ryan gets the section leader, and they better not mess up, because oh my god, he has this punishment planned if they get out of line in any way. He's gonna make them squat with the tuba. Oh my.
Oh wow.
But stay in the squatting position, not go up like where you go down, but you stay there until he gets tired. And Ryan has really fell asleep with the sousaphone on him twice, so he doesn't get tired.
Ryan is something else.
I'm telling you, Ryan's he's awesome. He's a cool dude, and I just talked to him about being a leader. He's like, you're gonna have to be a leader. So I don't want to be. He's just like, neither am I, but I'm gonna have to be one. I'm like, I don't want to be one because I swear to God, I'll literally be Jackson. I'll be like, okay, y'all, have fun, do your thing. If you got any questions, come to me. If not, have your fun. I really don't care. Have your fun, take it serious. And other than that, man, I'm not gonna prod you about doing this because I get it. Because that whole thing was like people were like. Especially those people, I feel like it goes for anything in general. Like if they've never had like a hard time with it, they can't understand what it's like to struggle really hard and be behind the curve and be forced to stay in line. Like for example, I didn't learn how to read music till midway through 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was band director thing.
Yeah, and the band director thing, and just in general. And then one day it just clicked, and then like this year. Midway through the year, I finally figured out, though being like quote unquote the best tuba in the lower class, I finally figured out what I was looking at a key signature, but I still have trouble reading music. And so I mean, when it comes to that stuff of being behind, they don't understand that. Like everybody's not like I guess you would say I'm musically gifted. That's what my family tries to say, but like in general, like of being able to read, write, understand music to the higher extent, and the fact that not everybody's on that same wavelength and they can't comprehend it, partially because they're still kids, no matter what age.
Yeah.
And the whole maturity thing and level of understanding, they want to apply it to them and be like, look, if you ain't up here, why aren't you where I'm at or better? Why aren't you this way? And I'm like, and it's not really about that. And that goes for anything.
Yeah, it's all about the dedication you put into what you're doing. And I feel like I every time I walked into the band room, I always saw you practicing. And honestly, that was amazing just to see, because your class was
doesn't care.
A little bit
doesn't care.
Yeah,
No, don't be honest.
They don't care at all.
They didn't.
They don't care. Period. Like there's some people that do care, but it's very few.
Like I'll say,
so it's nice to see.
Yeah, I'll say out of the people who genuinely care from my class, for that I know, it's Aaron, Kai, Angelo, Dan, me. I don't know if David cares. This guy in my tuba section, Liam. And I tell you what, I'm willing to admit, if he understood what he needed to work on, he'd be bored. He'd already be in wind ensemble, but he doesn't understand the fundamentals because when I tell you he's taken this tuba home every day since 6th grade, every day consistently without fail. If they were going off of work ethic alone as like first chair, he would have had it by a mile and then some. Because he works that hard and he takes it home every day consistently every weekend. He's done it without fail. But the issue is that he works on the same things. He doesn't know what to work on. My thing was that I practiced here and there, and of course I had that string of days where I would practice every day for a little bit. But it was on stuff I knew. Like he still puffs his cheeks to play. I had to figure that out in marching band, and when I figured that out, it made it levels above everything else.
Do you take lessons?
I started to midway through the year.
Gotcha, and I bet that helped you a lot too, right?
Yeah, definitely. And who else? I know there's the only other kid that takes lessons in my class is Zach. He's a trumpet player. He's a friend of. He's a good friend of mine. He cares a lot. He's one of those very few people that have taken lessons. He's literally like, it's me and him. Like, you'll see him go into the private room and like Wednesday or Thursday. You'll see me and Friday go in the back room for it and just But like for my class, it's really people who only play at school, have just decided to pick up an instrument in high school, which I mean it's not always it's not a bad thing. Fair play to them, but they're going to be behind by a lot. Or people who just like don't care, and that's what my class is filled with. So that's why I always like hated being in the lower band because like for example, if I know like I think didn't Kai and Angela didn't they get like to try out or something like that right before the year?
Honestly, I don't know.
Because I heard something that they got to like practice try out for something, and they got landed in that second band in the first year, and I'm like, I know with the skill level that I had, I would have been in the second band, and I don't even know what band. I think I'm in wind ensemble this year. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
No one knows.
Because I looked at what.
They haven't put it out.
Because I looked at the classes, like my schedule, and it was the intermediate band, advanced band, and mastery, and it had like the numbers, and I was in like mastery 2, so I don't know if that means I'm in wind ensemble or not.
I'm pretty sure that is wind ensemble, but
I mean, it should be, but like now that they've left, if they don't, they're most likely the guys. If they can't find a band director, they're most likely just gonna have to randomly put people in all sorts of bands, or they're gonna sort it by grade level.
So with the sitting auditions we turned in at pretty much right after Corona started, I think. But once those sitting auditions were for next year's band class, so they've already put you in the class you have to be. However, Mr. Ehrlich did mention something that we might have to re-audition in terms of seating placements to the new director. But that's not definite.
I hope not, because it took me so long to submit those videos. If I have to do it again, because it was like, oh, your file's too big, and it's like 30 seconds, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to, and I had to literally look for an online free file compressor, and it just made it long, and I don't want to do it again.
You could have just made it as an unlisted YouTube video. That's probably the easiest way. That's what I did.
I don't even know, but all I know is I've done it. It's done. But
yeah,
I just hope I'm not. I'm thinking about taking a second band class, because what I'm doing is, my mom wants me to take 3 years of Spanish, and I have like 2 credits in Spanish because I took a advanced class in Spanish in middle school. So if I'm taking it this summer, and I'm thinking about taking a second band class if they will allow me, because I want to start a second instrument. But I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of, what are you doing? What instrument are you doing?
I am going to start playing oboe next year in chamber winds.
Alright.
So we'll see how that goes.
I feel like if I get a second band, I'll probably be put at the lowest band, which that I actually won't be upset about, because I'll be learning the fundamentals of my new instrument. But I'm thinking about learning euphonium, because it's the closest thing to tuba. The only issue I'll have is the fact that they have so many notes above the staff. And it's a matter of not only playing them, but reading them.
Yeah, it's a process.
I feel like if I just know where the B flat is, I'll be like, okay, I'll learn it from there. I'll be fine. Because the valves are the exact same. So if you just tell me the fingerings are everything, I can play it fine.
Yeah, gotcha. I would say go for it. To take another band class, because it's just an experience. I don't know. The only thing is that since we're gonna have a new director next year, it'll be a little bit different, especially with people that are starting off on new instruments, because they probably won't know that. So if you're like really bad at it, they're gonna be like, "Why are you even in this class? Like, you suck."
Like, okay, but when I break out the tuba on their ass, they won't say nothing. Like, exactly. Oh, really? All right, Star Wars, watch this. Yeah, shh, exactly.
I felt that. Yeah, that's why I took the oboe home for over the summer, that I could not be as bad, because there's no oboe players anyway. So I feel like I'll be the only oboe player.
You'd be just like Jackson in the lower class. He literally played bass clarinet, and he regretted that decision immediately. He was the only one who played it, because Annie switched to clarinet. So he was just like, I hate this instrument. I really don't care about this instrument anymore. I hate it with a passion. Like, it's the funniest thing in the world. But
okay, if he goes into one of the higher band classes, there will be others. So it's okay.
Well, he didn't want to. He said I literally picked this up like halfway through the year, because he would play tuba, and of course you know him. Whenever he plays, he shakes the entire building. So.
Oh, okay.
So like, he'll be playing mezzo piano, and like, but he overplays everybody in the section. Everybody in the back row, like trombone, tuba combined. He just played over them on his piano. Whenever he went like really loud, he wouldn't be trying. He'd just be going to try to play forte. It'd just fill up the entire room. So they switched him to a woodwind instrument, and he has that tuba air, so he'll squeak every 5 notes.
Gotcha. We have some people with some powerful lungs in the band, like Ethan, who plays bass clarinet. He has such a nice full sound on his bass clarinet, only because of how loud he is. Yeah. It's so nice to hear.
I'll tell you what, marching band definitely helped me. If that was one thing it helped me with like fuller sound. Because when I tell you, it became so effortless. Like when we would play on the concert instruments, like immediately after playing like the marching band ones, it just became so effortless to be loud. Like now, if I were to play, it's like so much more effortless. And like people.
Yeah, marching band brings a lot of people like out of their shells in terms of playing their instruments, because I know like Rowan, he used to play really, really, really quiet, and after marching band, he plays like louder now. So, and it's nice because he's also good at his instruments. So.
Yeah, but just in general, I think it's gonna. it's gonna be very interesting next year because personally, I feel like they're gonna. So if they're what they're projecting about coronavirus that it's gonna come back in the winter, since it's like the flu, then personally, what I believe is a smart thing to do is to keep us home for the first half of the year till winter passes, and then you bring us back in the spring when it starts getting warmer.
I mean, I guess that would make sense, but also, I'm not really sure if they'd want to do that.
I don't think they would, but I'm saying that that'd be the best way to go about it. And also, then again, Georgia's weather is like bipolar. It's like it's supposed to be summer, but it still has to wear a hoodie out like today. So it's.
Is it actually?
No, like well, it is now. Now it's like really cloudy. If you go out there, you'd probably wear a hoodie right now because again, the weather in Georgia is just bipolar. One day it's 100, the next day it's like 20, and it's weird.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know. It literally sucks.
So
I hate Georgia weather.
So when it comes to that it sucks. But the overall cold weather, if it's gonna push it to another wave, I feel like that'd be the best way to go about it. Or that they're gonna do, or if they're just gonna be like, bump it, we're gonna keep this whole year at home. Which I wouldn't at a point I wouldn't be mad at personally, but at the same time for everybody else's mental health. Because for like this whole thing, like quarantine is the best and worst thing for people with mental health issues. It's the best because they get to work on it. But it's the worst because, the stuff that's probably been helping them has been probably ripped away from them.
Yeah, I think, like you said, like there's been a lot of it's the best and the worst. But my main thing is people who live in more, abusive households have been stuck at home.
No.
So
that's actually the big reason why they would always make you turn on your camera during FaceTime calls. Because that was the big reason. Because the rates of like abuse in the household have gone skyrocket and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
and I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either, but I think it's just jacked up. And
yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to think.
I mean and people, a lot of people rely on school for their meals. So
that too.
That's the only thing for me to be able to go back to school. Because honestly, I'm really fortunate that I live in a healthy household, and we can maintain ourselves with food and stuff like that. But then there's people that can't. So if I can't go back to school, like that's not a big deal for me. But I feel like in times like this, you have to kind of forget about yourself for a second and look at it in the bigger picture.
Yeah, and well, that is true. At the end of the day, you can only do so much to help so many people. So while it is good to think of others, you have to prioritize yourself as well. So, again, I don't know what the future holds for this, but as far as like marching band wise, I personally don't think it would be smart to have a season. I feel like if Mr. Reed and Mr. Ehrlich had stayed, they would have somehow tried to find a loophole to make us march full time. Because I wouldn't, again, personally, I wouldn't put it past them. And that's just me. I feel like in some way, shape, or form, they would have been like, well, the principal kind of said it was okay, so let's march out here for 3 hours, and then if somebody catches them, they'll be like, oh, we were getting authorization, and yada, yada, yada. They would find some loophole to trick and be like, oh, it's all right. But
yeah, well, because they don't want to get sued either, and so if, there's a little corona outbreak within the band, then we're all basically screwed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but at the same time, I feel like if you have a halfway decent immune system, you'll be all right. Because I think that's what it mainly is. Because all the people who have mainly been killed are people who are already been sick, like people with cancer, or people who have weak immune systems because of disease. The old, the young, and just the overall weak. It's that's the main ones.
A lot of the people in our band have asthma, and that could wipe us out real quick.
That's what I mean. Like if you have some health issue, that'd make it difficult. Like my friend Justice, he has cancer. He has an already weak immune system. Had he get it, that's basically a death sentence. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like because you look at all these, like there was a bunch of athletes all over the place that got it. Like it was like 5 NBA players got it, and they all got quote unquote cured of it in like 2 weeks because they're so fit and they kept themselves healthy for so long. So I feel like if you just take care of yourself, which is again, it's a part of the whole stay home, wash your hands thing, yada yada yada.
Yeah, well, which unfortunately, Georgia kind of gave up on that. Like this whole social distancing thing.
You know,
on like Snapchat, everyone is going out.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why that happened. I'll tell you why. It's the same thing why it reached the States in the first place.
Yeah.
Trump and again here too in Georgia, Brian Kemp, I think that's the name of the governor. They're in a lose-lose situation here because you don't close the borders, you run the risk of getting the disease, and you end up where we are now. You close the borders to all that, you're losing money. The stock market crashes, everything goes down. Georgia is actually one of the ones that make more sense because we have like the biggest airport in like the country or something like that. And so you shut all that off. That goes like 70% of our money just gone. So I feel like he was putting a rock in a hard place. Like we could keep them healthy and we could all go bankrupt because we have all these big businesses like JCPenney and all that filing for bankruptcy and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Do you wager?
It's kind of a hard decision.
Yeah, so I mean, like either it's a lose-lose either way. So I was just like, are you gonna close the borders, try to keep everybody healthy, or are you gonna try to make sure that the economy doesn't go down, especially in Georgia? In Georgia, we're so big on tourism and attractions that can only be found here and are unique to here that something like this, if you were to close the borders, we'd be in shambles.
Yeah, but I mean, think of it this way, like if our economy does basically crumble, we could potentially build back up if we still have people left. But if everyone's dead trying to save our economy, then,
well, it's just,
doesn't really
again, it comes down to like America in general is more of a company-based country than a country-based country. It prioritizes money and currency than anything. So when a country stops its money, then it's gotten serious.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like it's gotten very out of hand. I don't think the situation was controlled that well.
It wasn't. It wasn't at all, because I said this at probably last episode or sometime before, that people were distracted by the wrong things. And I'm not saying this, again, I'm not saying this could have been prevented, but if there was evidence of this, which they've stated there was, they could have done something to prepare, if not halt, the rise of this thing. And I was saying that because I'd say personally the biggest distraction that started off everything was like the 2016 election. Because you look at that whole election, it's like literally a soap opera. It's quite literally an episode of The Kardashians. It is a reality TV show, and from both sides, not just Hillary, not just Trump, both sides. It was just like it's a lose-lose situation, and people all got focused on the wrong things. They got focused like he won, and then everybody was just sucked to his Twitter, sucked to this. And he was like the clown dancing in front of your screen while something in the background's going on. And I was trying to tell people, I said, look, he's a distraction. He's focusing off the bigger picture. Don't be surprised if something big happens. And now 4 years later, now look at us. We're all stuck in a house. Not saying that this could be prevented, not saying that this couldn't have happened, but I'm saying something could have been done. There could have been a warning, a shout out, being like, hey, something big is coming. But no, people were too busy focused on the wrong things and all the crap, all the nonsense in the world. And now we're stuck because nobody was prepared. Or the people we're supposed to trust isn't prepared.
Some people had said that there was a potential. Who was it, like Obama or some crap? They were like, oh yeah, if like a pandemic happens, we're not prepared. And then now and we proved his point because we're not. We still don't know what we're doing.
Because the whole thing was I guess if anything, this would be like this. I feel like if anything, I feel like this is more of a government test, like a general thing, because when they gave out the money, like everybody got that check of $1,200. I learned this from my mom today. The whole point of that check was for people to spend that money. so that the businesses start running up again. You like $1,200 per person adds up. But now people are starting to get wise with their money and said, hey, let's save it. And they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to spend that money, put it back into the economy. And now you have all these corporations that are like, again, filing for bankruptcy, and this whole thing of system of we're going to try to make more money, or whatever the plan was, is just backfired on them. And or this whole thing was supposed to unite us, and instead it's just been like whoever they point the finger, whoever they said was the first person that had it to, they would have pointed the blame at. It just happened to be Asian people. Had it been, it would have been if they had said that somewhere in Europe a white person got it, they would have blamed white people. If there was someone in Africa, they would have said black people had it. It just depends on who they gave it to, who they said it first. So
I don't know. Yeah, it's a whole crazy situation. A lot has come from it, and a lot has happened from it. So I don't know. We'll just see what happens and how quickly we can go back to living a semi-normal life again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really in a rush. I feel like this has helped a lot of people stop, because the whole thing about people like always on the move, always on the rush, always moving, always doing something. I feel like this is a good time for people to learn how to stop and just stop. And the biggest thing, if you ever have anxiety, this goes for anything. You have anxiety or whatever, and you overthink a lot, which is as a habit. The biggest thing to help that is to live in the now, be present where you are now. So many people are here, or are here but are not here. Like they'll check out. They're too busy living on or holding on to something from the past, or so focused on what might happen in the future that no one lives in the now. Like the conversation we're having right here is the now. However, if you weren't really engaged, and you were just going worrying about what you're going to eat for dinner later, that's not being in the now.
Yeah, I agree. But a lot. I don't know. I guess it just depends on how you look at it. This whole thing, for me at least, it's really taught me like the importance of family, I guess, because I've gotten so much closer to the people that I'm living with now than I ever have before. Like at this point, me and my sister are getting along better than we had a few months ago, and I think it's really taught me how, like, at the end of the day, these are the people that are going to be with you throughout everything, because, the friends that I had at school, I don't talk to anyone anymore. I only talk to, like, 3 people, and so it kind of brought out the real part of friendship. Everyone.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. I'll tell like a quick story. Like I'll tell you what. I'm not, again, like I said, I wouldn't wish this whole thing on the whole world for anybody, for my worst enemy. But I'll tell you what, it has definitely thinned out the herd of people who I thought were friends, and though I am a very forgiving person, I don't forget. So, like, for example,
I agree.
There's this girl, someone, I think you probably know her. It's like this girl in your grade. I'm not going to say his name because she might see this and she might get offended. I would help her with all her issues and all that stuff. And she would claim that she was my friend and all that stuff. And she looks at her boyfriend like Jesus Christ reincarnated. Like, I swear to God, she's a hop skip away from praying to this man every night. But I digress.
Wait, hold on. Oh, what grade did you say she's in?
Oh, your grade?
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Okay, but
we'll discuss that. We'll discuss that off camera. But anyways, so I would help her with her issues. She had a big issue with her boyfriend. A bunch of blow up stuff happened. I'm, of course, me being stupid that I am. I try to help everybody. So I helped her out with everything. I considered her my friends and all that stuff. We were close friends. And then, I was telling her all this big stuff, and she, especially when this whole thing started, this whole Corona thing, she was like depressed, and she was like probably a hop skip away from starting to being suicidal, like actually trying to. I don't know. I helped her through all that, kind of more than her boyfriend did, which is a bit, I'm friends with him, but I was just like, and the whole thing, and they just in general, they were just off. They were just into big issues, and then one day she was just like, I'm gonna need you to back off because I want to discuss, because everything, she was too scared to have discussions with her boyfriend, so she would have them with me to relate to him. So I kept telling her, I said, one day you're gonna have to talk to him because that's who you're dating. And she finally did that, and I was proud of that. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go call the homie that was dating her. So I let him know. All of a sudden, he reads me this text about what she said, and that she sent him. And in a nutshell, summed up, and I still have it. She basically said that she was using me as kind of like an emotional sponge, without like indirectly saying that, as an emotional sponge, because I was more quote unquote disposable than her boyfriend.
Yikes. That's
so.
Wow.
I mean.
Oh my God.
So she denies it to this day. She denies it to this day. But, you know, it made me feel some type of way, and I was just like, oh, all right, you have fun with that. And even her, the funny thing was, even her boyfriend was just like, yeah, no, that's effed up. And he came to that conclusion, and I'm like, that's messed up. And I'm like, see. So
if we're thinking about the same person, that's just kind of how he is. And I'm not gonna even say my opinion because
off camera. We'll talk about that off camera. But
off camera, but
I know what you mean.
Some people, I don't know. I feel like just some people have really shown their true colors during this time, and at least for me, I know who not to get involved with next year. Like,
yes,
I'm gonna go to school next year knowing how people are, and if you screwed it up during this time, then you screwed it up. Like, I'm sorry, and I'm one of those people who's like, you messed up, and I'll forgive you as many times, but at one point, I just have to cut you off because it's doing harm to me, and I don't want you in my life anymore, and that's kind of how it is.
Amen. But again, especially during this time where it puts literally everything in perspective. Like you said, you realize that the importance of family, especially during a time like this and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When it came down to it, that none of the trivial stuff that you guys that you and your sister would argue about really matters anymore. When something of this magnitude has popped up, and that's something that even adults can't figure out. The fact that you've figured that out now at a young age shows your maturity, and so that's really good. It's a good thing to have, and I feel like definitely don't do what a lot of people do, which I know obviously I don't think you will because you're smart and you know this already, but I'll say it anyways. Don't let circumstances change that. Don't let if this does die down, don't let that to be like, okay, we can go back to arguing and be like, and all those memories of you guys going along together because of a disease that was like, I guess, a pandemic, I guess, or whatever. That all those fall to the wayside because it's gone now, and now you guys go back to arguing every day about something else that really, and in the bigger picture, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm a very big family person anyway, so family always comes number one, and no matter coronavirus or not, I'm still close to all of them. It's just that this has kind of brought us a little bit closer, and we've gotten along a lot more than we normally would have before. So, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, obviously, I've just been doing a bunch of new stuff that I wouldn't any other time I wouldn't have gotten around to. Like, obviously, I started this. Working out more, trying to get more in shape. It just for like a matter of just in general, so that I look good and I feel good and all that stuff. And in general, just chilling. Because again, personally to me, I don't know about you, but I've always felt like alone. Like as far as like always being all by myself. So when this whole thing started, they were like, "Oh, I hate being alone. I hate not being with my friends." I'm like, this is just like, for me, it feels like another day. So like, because like, even stuff like, even if a family member had corona, which I don't know, like if I would feel like I'd be like, it sucks, and I would be there for them. But like, at the end of the day, as far as like the staying away from people and stuff, I'm like, I've been doing this for like what 6-7 years already.
That's crowding.
So I get the whole thing about like being away from your friends that need to be with people. And at the same time, I'm just like, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at being alone because I've been doing it already. I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's more the options, like, you don't have the option to go out and see people. So I think that's what trips up most of the people, because that's what happened to me. Because I'm a very, like, house person. Like, I don't really like leaving my house. If I have friends over, it's always at my house. But, yeah, like you said, like, it's just another day. When school was canceled, it just felt like summer had started.
Yeah,
so,
basically,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's not that big of a deal to have to stay home and not see that many people. But, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it 100%. Well, we'll say this, since this is our first official conversation. I can confidently say I talk to like maybe one person on a daily basis, and she doesn't go to my school. So, if you want to talk, obviously off camera or in general, give me a call, because my phone is literally drier than the Sahara Desert. It always has been, but specifically during this time. So,
yeah, for sure.
Definitely. But, and I think this is where I'm going to stop it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you back sometime. For everybody out there watching, thank you for watching. Stay safe, and bye.